Hey, got barbecue and bottles here. Since you liked last week's video where we were using that smoker box from the 50s, we thought we'd show you another video where we're just gonna be doing some old school smoking techniques. We've got this smoker drum. It's like a stick burner that's from the 50s. It's just been hanging out in the back of the garage, and we're gonna do a pork butt on it. This pork butt, we've got about 9 pounds here, incredibly cheap. 35 bucks Canadian for 9 pounds of a pork butt. US dollars, that's like $25. Really cheap protein, great if you've got a huge party and you want to feed a lot of people. So with that, let's get into this video. So we're just gonna take this pork out of the bag here, and we've got a butt that's got the bone in. So we've got the shoulder bone that you can see part of it sticking out here. And then the other part of it is coming out right here. So we're gonna do this low and slow, and really the test is gonna be at the end if we can just pull this bone right out, and then the meat's gonna just pull apart. So to prepare, we've got the skin on and we're gonna wanna take that off. So just using a sharp knife, get in there, be careful, peel this back. So what we're gonna do, we're actually gonna save this skin here and we're gonna make chicharrones out of it. You gotta respect the animal, use every part of it that you can. So we're gonna be doing a series here on nose to tail eating, and first video is gonna be chicharrones. So we're gonna save this and make some incredibly fresh chicharrones, homemade style, perfect for keto eating. So now we're just gonna set this to the side, and we're gonna trim the rest of the fat off the top here. Pork is an extremely well marbled piece of protein, so we don't need to have such a thick fat cap here on the pork butt, and we're just gonna carve that off. There's a ton of marbling and connective tissue on the inside of the butt, and that, as we go low and slow, is gonna render down and ensure we still have a really nice, juicy piece of meat. So we're just finishing up here, cutting off this last bit of excess fat, and you'll see we're exposing the underlying meat, and it's incredibly well marbled. So you don't have to worry about cutting the fat cap off of your pork butt, drying out your pork over the course of the cook. This is what's gonna render down. All of those juices are gonna remain in your butt and result in some incredibly juicy pulled pork. Now that we've got this trimmed up, we're just gonna go in with some plain yellow mustard to act as a binder for the rub that we're gonna use. And we don't need that much. We've got enough here. Just add a little extra there. This is just gonna help to ensure that that rub sticks to the pork butt. So we're just using our homemade rub. We'll put a link down below if you want all of the specific ingredients to this, but it's perfect for pork butt. It's got a really nice sweetness, a little bit of heat as well. So we store ours in mason jars, and it's great for this because you can just sprinkle it across your protein like this, give it a nice rub and pat in. And don't worry about over seasoning. We've got a really nice thick cut here, and no matter how much seasoning you put on, in the end, it's not gonna feel like too much. Now flip it over and do the other side. Now that we've got our pork butt seasoned up, we're just gonna let this sweat out for about a half an hour. So in the meantime, let's go fire up the smoker. Keeping with the theme of smoking in the 50s, back then we didn't have Barbecue World, so we couldn't just walk down the street and pick up some pre-made smoking chips. So we're gonna head into the garage. We've got some piles of wood here, and we're just gonna plane our own chips. So you can see we've got tools just packed to the rafters in here, and we've got this planer, and we're just gonna make our own wood chips using some apple wood here. So I'll slide a few of these through the planer, the chips come flying out. After a dozen passes through, we've got enough for our smoke. So now what we're doing, we're just crumpling up newspaper. We're gonna fill up the bottom of this with crumpled up newspaper and then stick our logs in, and that's how we're gonna start this bad boy. So now we're gonna get this wood down in here in a crosshatch fashion, just like this. And we're using maple wood, so we're gonna light this and get this started. So now that the fire started here, we've got this heat deflector, and that's gonna go in just like that. Now we've got a series of racks here, and we're just gonna put the first one in. We've got wood chips. Those wood chips are gonna go along that heat deflector, and that's gonna help create some extra smoke in the actual chamber where our pork butt is. Put in a little tray. Then the final rack. Now we're just gonna add a little orange juice into that tray, and that's gonna make sure the cook stays nice and moist. Now to assess temperature, we've got a thermometer. We've got one probe set for our protein. The other, we're just gonna stick in here right at the surface of our cook, just so that we know what temperature the inside chamber is set at. We don't have any kind of external thermometer on this, so this is our only way to tell. So now let's get this covered up, the door shut, and let this heat up. So we've got the internal temp up to about 325, so that's perfect. We're gonna drop the pork butt in there now. Now we're just placing it in on the top rack, nothing special. Right in the middle, over top of the orange juice that's down in the tray below it. And here you can see all the different layers. The fire, the heat deflector, the racks, the drip tray, and the pork butt. Now we're just gonna add some of our wood shavings in just over top of the heat deflector here. And this will add a really nice applewood smoke flavor to our pork butt. Now we're gonna get our other meat thermometer stuck into the pork butt. We want it in one of the thickest parts of the butt, but just make sure you're not touching the bone. Now we're just going to want to continue to monitor the internal temperature of the smoker here and keep it somewhere between 300 and 325. So you can see our orange juice here has just evaporated away, so we're going to top that back up. And again, this is just for moisture, wanting to make sure that we don't dry out the pork butt. Get the lid back on here. So the fire's starting to die down, so we're just going to lift this up. Get another log in there. Another 2 logs, just like that. Get the temperature back up. We're at the 7-hour mark here. We've got an internal temp of 195 on the pork butt, so it's time to take this off. Oh, this smells incredible. Get that down into there. We'll pull out the temp probe. So we've got a great bark that's developed on this. Now we're just gonna let it rest maybe a half an hour, and then we're gonna pull this and we're gonna make pulled pork tacos. Now that we've had this resting for a little bit, we're just gonna use these pork bear claws and shred out our pork butt. And you can see the pork shoulder bone just came out perfectly clean like that. That's a sign that this was perfectly well done. So now let's finish shredding this. We're gonna mix some with a little barbecue sauce. We'll keep some plain, and we're gonna shift over to building our pulled pork fajitas. You can see the smoke ring that we've got on the outside here, and this is just incredibly tender. This all just pulls apart like that. This is gonna make for incredible pulled pork fajitas. Now we're just pulling this apart a little more finely, putting it into a bowl that we're gonna mix some barbecue sauce into. You can see here, this is incredibly juicy, super moist. Gonna give it the taste test. The fat's rendered down really well. Makes it incredibly moist. You can taste the applewood that we used for smoking. That barbecue rub that we added, absolutely incredible. Worked out really, really well here. Really pleased with this outcome. All right, this pork butt came out so juicy, we're not even gonna bother adding barbecue sauce to it. So we're gonna go straight into building our tacos. Shift some over here. Perfect, just right along the bottom. Then we're gonna go in with a little bit of the pulled pork. Make sure we get a lot of those bark pieces in here. There's just an incredible amount of flavor in that. Now, for a jalapeno, get some avocado in there. Come in with a little hit of chopped onion. This is just regular sweet white onions. And now finish it off with a squeeze of lime. Beautiful. So there you have it, folks. This is how you make pulled pork fajitas. This was incredibly easy. Spent the whole day outside, just spending time with family, and now we get to sit down together and enjoy a lovely meal. All of this, we did it for under 45 bucks. So if you like this video, give us a like below, consider subscribing to this channel, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in.